Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the invisible systems that are all around us. Systems that have been built specifically to capture and then sell our most valuable and, yep, our most limited resource, our attention.
So let's just start with a number, 47 seconds. That's it. That is the average amount of time any of us now focus on a single screen before our brain jumps to something else. It's a pretty wild number, and it shows this dramatic collapse in our ability to just stay focused.
So you have to ask, right? Is this our fault? Are we all just failing at willpower? Well, the truth is, this isn't really about personal discipline. It's about a very, very sophisticated and profitable design. So let's get into how that design actually works. And look, this didn't just happen overnight. This has been a slow and steady decline. Research from Professor Gloria Mark has been tracking this for 2 decades. Back in 2004, the average focus time was a full 2.5 minutes. By 2012, it had dropped to 75 seconds. And now, just 47. We're looking at a clear, measurable collapse of focus in our digital lives.
To really get why this is happening, we've got to go back almost 50 years to an idea from a Nobel laureate named Herbert A. Simon. He was way ahead of his time. He realized that the most fundamental scarcity in the economy was shifting. It was no longer about a lack of information. It was about our limited ability to pay attention to it all. This table just lays it out so clearly. We went from the information age, where information was growing but still kind of manageable, to today's attention economy, where information is just everywhere. It's overabundant. But our attention? That's become incredibly scarce. We've literally gone from being poor in information to suffering from a poverty of attention.
I mean, that single sentence from Simon, it's basically the one law that governs our entire modern digital world. He saw it all coming. So if our attention is the new gold, the new scarce resource, how exactly is it being mined?
Well, let's dive into the psychological engine behind all this. Because the tools grabbing our focus aren't just random. Nope. They are meticulously engineered based on decades and decades of behavioral psychology research.
You've probably heard people call our smartphones slot machines in your pocket. But what you might not realize is that's not a metaphor. It's a structural blueprint. Think about it. Pulling a lever on a slot machine is the exact same psychological action as the pull to refresh gesture on your social media feed. Both give you an unpredictable reward, and both are designed for one thing: compulsive use. The science behind this is a powerful principle called variable ratio reinforcement. It sounds kind of technical, but the idea is actually super simple. When a reward is unpredictable, our behavior to get that reward becomes incredibly persistent, even addictive. It's the not knowing which scroll will show you that great video or which refresh will bring a new like that hooks us so deeply.
And product designers literally have a playbook for this. It's called the hook model, and it's a 4-step loop that manufacturers desire. First, there's a trigger. Could be a notification, or it could just be an internal feeling like loneliness. That leads to an action. You open the app. Then comes the variable reward. That's the slot machine effect. And finally, you make a tiny investment, a like, a comment, which loads the next trigger, creating a loop that just keeps going.
Okay, so this isn't just clever psychology. This stuff is actually changing our brain chemistry. It has a direct, measurable biological effect.
You hear about dopamine all the time as the pleasure chemical, but that's a bit of a misunderstanding. Really, dopamine is the chemical of anticipation. It's the wanting chemical. It surges when we're expecting a reward, driving us to seek it out. And brain scans show that getting social validation, like a like, lights up the exact same reward centers in our brain as food or money. It hijacks our ancient wiring to keep us scrolling. And it's not just about the reward system. It's also about threats. Our ancient caveman brain can't tell the difference between a phone buzzing at our pocket and a predator hiding in the bushes. So every single notification can trigger a little squirt of the stress hormone cortisol, keeping us in a constant low-grade state of fight or flight. So if these systems are really that powerful, why don't we feel it more in the moment? Why do we look up from our phones and realize an hour or 2 has just vanished? Well, the answer might just be in a soup bowl. There was this brilliant experiment where researchers gave people soup in a bowl that secretly, slowly refill itself from the bottom. And the result? The people with the bottomless bowl ate 73% more soup. But here's the crazy part. They didn't feel any more full. It turns out we rely on external cues, like an empty bowl, to tell our brains when to stop.
And that right there, that
is the infinite scroll. It is our digital bottomless soup bowl. By getting rid of the natural end of the page, it removes the cue our brain needs to say, okay, time to stop. It is the very architecture of distraction, built for mindless consumption. But the cost isn't just the time you lose while you're scrolling. There's another hidden cost that a scholar named Sophie Leroy calls attention residue. Basically, whenever you switch tasks, a piece of your brain is still thinking about the last thing you were doing. It's like a cognitive hangover that makes it harder to focus on the new thing. And how bad is that hangover? Get this. Research shows it takes, on average, 23 minutes and 15 seconds to fully get back on task after a major interruption. Now think about how many times a day you get interrupted. You start to see the scale of the problem.
Okay, I know this can all sound pretty bleak, but here's the thing. Understanding the system is not about feeling doomed. It's the first step to beating it. It's about empowerment. Because once you can see the design, you can start to take back control. And maybe the most important thing to get is that this isn't a personal failure. You're not just weak-willed. The problem isn't your motivation, it's the environment. We are in a constant fight against systems that were literally engineered to defeat our self-control. So the answer isn't just to try harder, it's to change how we interact with this stuff. Professor Gloria Mark says we are far from helpless. We can build our agency back up. You can start by understanding your own internal triggers. Like, why are you reaching for your phone right now? Are you bored? Lonely? Then you can take real steps. Set up external hooks, like an appointment, to pull yourself out of a rabbit hole. Turn off notifications to stop those cortisol spikes. The goal is to engage with intent, not just react on autopilot. And that really gets to the ultimate goal. It's not about being in a constant draining battle to resist distraction. It's about designing our digital world, our workflows, so that distraction just becomes irrelevant. You build a system that serves your goals, not the goals of an algorithm. Because at the end of the day, in an economy built from the ground up to harvest your focus, the most powerful thing you can do, the most rebellious act even, is to consciously choose where you place it. Your attention is your greatest asset. The only question is, who are you selling it to?